Okay, before I begin, I must get your consent. Okay, hey. Before we begin, I must get your consent saying that you approve of this interview, saying that I can use your image in the interview towards this purpose. If you agree, I need your name, today's date, and that you consent to the interview.
Jason Gilliard, June 26th, and yes, I consent.
Okay. Now the topic is how does an artist evolve and how is it connected to trends? So the first question is why do some artists who come out in the scene one way evolve or change so drastically?
Well, I don't believe that artists really change drastically. I think that they change in order to keep up with certain trends. Um, the world is forever changing, so of course, music, which is something that I believe that helps make the world go around, has to change in order for things to keep going. So, artists do continue to evolve and change in order to keep things interesting. If they're not changing and you're staying the same, then it's not interesting. So you lose your audience.
So well the next question is what is the cause of the evolution? So could you kind of elaborate? I know you said it just like just then, but can you kind of go a little bit more
What is the cause of evolution?
within the artist itself? I know you said like keeping up with the change in music and stuff like that, but just isn't like can you give some other examples? 'Cause I know it's not strictly just all the artists.
Well, I think it's the driving force is mostly the background of the artist. You got the producers, you have the executives in office, and so forth. Because the artists themselves, usually they don't have much control over what goes on unless they're in that type of position, like a CEO and so forth. But the CEOs, the producers, the engineers, all of them drive are the driving force that causes these changes. They'll see what's hot out in the street right now, and they'll say, okay, well, we think in order to keep this artist hot, we need to change them to fit this mold, or to do something that's a little bit more drastic than the mold, something that goes outside of the box. So
Okay.
that's the driving force, I think.
And with this evolution or change, is it beneficial or can it be beneficial or could it hurt them in the end? What's your take?
It's definitely a catch 22 on that. Sometimes you can win, sometimes you're gonna lose on it. It just really depends upon the audience that your main audience. If your main audience is willing to change with you, then yes, you're gonna be winning in that. But if your main audience likes the certain things that you do, then they may not change with you, and you might lose them. Um, and sometimes some artists go along with what the studio is saying, what the CEOs are saying, so much to where they don't have a personality in their music. So you definitely lose people that way.
Okay. Can you identify some artists who has made a drastic evolution or change? Um, and do you know of any that has not, since they came out, changed so much that they're still true to who they are?
Um, first, one of the first artists that sticks out to me that changes, she changes all the time, but she's still who she is. Christina Aguilera. I think that she changes with every album, but she still gives you Christina. She still gives you um, her very outgoing personality. Her very this is who I am. This is how I sing. She still sings the same way. She still gives you the same. Even though her look changes a little bit, it's still a little bit of the same. Kind of a blonde dingy girl, but she has a little bit of the street smarts.
Okay. Speaking of that, another interview I did recently, someone gave the opposite opinion of Christina. He said he felt like that she has no personality because she kept changing. Like every time she came out with a new album, it was such a drastic change from when she first came as the good girl to this last transformation, which was the can't think of what he said it was. So I guess with each person comes a different
Each
understanding.
person has a different view. Like I say, your audience, if they change with you, or if they accept you as, because I personally don't think that she's changed. She changes, does a drastic change each time. I think she does a slight change. Yes, she came out as the good girl, good her wholesome Disney girl when she first came out, and then stripped was she was showing her type of music, what she likes. So that was her personality evolution. And then with the next album, it was I'm gonna take it back a little bit, still give you some of me, show you what I like in my history, what I like is my background. She gave you a lot of background of her type of music that she liked. And the next album was a futuristic album. So it's not drastic to me, but to some people it might be drastic. Now to me a drastic change would be Khalees. She made a drastic change. That's just my
Okay.
opinion.
So, can you probably name some artists who has not, I guess since they first came out to now, they've evolved and changed, but it was so short kept to where it doesn't like they've changed at all?
Hmm. I would have to think on that one. I can't really think of too many artists that haven't evolved,
I mean, they've evolved,
but
but it was such a kept in like evolvement that it just,
a very small
yeah.
Brandy. She's the first artist that sticks out to me. He's Brandy. She evolves, but it's very small. Even though it's been over a long period of like what 20 years now, it's been very small. It's her voice got deeper on her third album, but she didn't evolve as a musical artist. There was only probably one album that really showed a growth. The rest of them have been kind of still the same old Brandy. But it's not a bad thing for her because it works for her. And sometimes you don't evolve so much because it works for you. So
Okay.
it's not always bad to not evolve.
Do you feel music will evolve in the next generation? Because they say that music, what was the statement? It's constantly changing, and what's from the past is kind of coming back into the present and then moving towards the future. So, do you feel like it will evolve to a whole new level, different genres that we may not have ever heard of, stuff like that?
Yes, because different genres are created all the time. And what we label them as certain things, like I think the next evolution is not going to be much of an evolution. It's going to be retro. It's going to be new retro, neo retro. I'm not sure how to say it because you have neo soul now. Neo soul has sort of evolved into like soul rock because it's like they have that soul element to it. Of course, it's a new sound, but it has like a rockish kind of pop sound to it still. So it's like every time something evolves, it goes back into what it already was, but it's a new sound, but it's the same sound. It's all kind of like an oxymoron.
You said okay. So, what's an example of an artist who fits that category under? You said a neo soul. What
Like
like
a
what's an
soul rock.
I mean, so for someone who doesn't know exactly what it is, how can you describe that sound?
I believe Sade fits that sound, and she has always fit that sound, really. But they've always put her under, or I'm sorry, the band. Sade is the band. They've always put that band under a soul sound, but it's always been like a soul rock because you have that it's been like a soul R&B rock, really. You have that rhythm, you have that blues, you have that soul, that passion behind it, and then you have the grooves to it. Rock is like a groove. It's not really loud banging all the time. Rock is kind of a groove. So Sade has or fits that mold to me. Jill Scott is kind of on that too. She's like a soul rock. It's not. She's like a. She has a whole genre in herself, I believe. It's a soul rock rhythm poetry type thing she has going. So like I say, genres come up all the time.
Would Sade be a good example of an artist who kind of sticks to how they first come out? Because it's been a big gap here between her last album and the one she just came out with, but
Yeah,
she hasn't. Has she evolved, or it seems like she stayed the same to you?
it was the same, but in the evolution in the same. You evolved. She evolved more verbally than musically. Musically, she's the same when it comes to like her rhythms and her sounds, but when it came to her poetry and her writings, she evolved. So she took a different evolution
Okay.
path.
Next question. A big trend lately for most artists is controversy. So why is controversy taking the lead on trends? Um, is it an evolutionary technique that maybe that the producers and them have come up with, or what is the purpose for controversy within the music artist?
Controversy has been something that's big in everyday life, not just in music life. So it keeps everything interesting. I mean, when you look at people in fights, do most people not run over there and try to see who's fighting and why they fighting? And so it's like music is just another outlet of fighting, in a sense. If you just don't like a certain person, then or even if it's not you, people will. You know how people start up rumors. Just it's exciting. It keeps everything moving. It's just to keep things not so boring or not so bland. I think that the producers, not necessarily producers, but CEOs, the companies that run these big businesses, these big empires of the music industry, um, they start a controversy to keep everything interesting, because a lot of these things don't even stem from these people don't even know each other half the time when they don't care for each other, or when people say they don't care for each other. They'll start a rumor. Social networks have really helped that in this. And I mean, somebody says one thing, and it's like, oh, such and such doesn't like such and such. Oh, then this and that, and they're gonna all be tweeting each other or Facebooking each other about, oh, you said this about me, when it really just stemmed from one person saying something. And it's just to keep everything interesting. That keeps things going.
Okay. Now, one of the biggest controversies that happened recently was the Rihanna Man Down video because of the way that she handled the situation in the video. And an organization came up I've never heard of. I can't think of the name of them. I hope I don't get in trouble for for saying that. They came together with BET to have the video pulled because of the fact that the message that she was portraying. She was raped in the video,
Mm-hmm.
and so because the man raped her, she shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And the message as they're putting it is not a politically correct message. But why do you think that type of controversy is beneficial yet harmful for artists?
Well, the reason I see it being harmful for an artist is, one, because if the company sees it as bad publicity, then they're gonna pull a lot of things. If other companies see it as bad publicity, then they're gonna pull their endorsements. So that's the bad side of it. The good side of it is that you get to see that artist's um, personal opinion on things. Because sometimes we don't see their personal opinions. We just see the broad idea. Or sometimes these artists don't really write their own songs, so they're just singing the song, but you don't know how they really feel about that subject. So if you see them backing up whatever the subject may be, you see their personal opinion on it. Like with the Rihanna thing, you see other artists, other celebrities come out and they'll speak for it or against it. A lot of celebrities that I've heard come out about it, they speak for it, because at the end of the day, um, you're raising your kids. If you don't think it's a good message for your child, then don't allow your child to watch it, because you can't allow entertainment to raise your children. It can be a part of it. You can control what they listen to and what they don't listen to. It's just how you raise them. But a lot of celebrities have been in support of her, because there was one, Gabrielle Union. She said that she tried to kill her rapist. I mean, you never know how they can scar a person and how they're going to react to it. So it's a message of, this is my side, this is how I feel, um, on a personal level, versus a universal or company level, industry level.
Which doesn't say that the artist is a bad person.
Right. It doesn't say that. I don't think.
Okay. And she's not condoning violence neither. Just throw that for the record. Oh, another thing. Okay, Rihanna, when she first came out, she fit the same criteria like Christina. The good girl. The most skin that she ever showed was maybe her stomach back then.
Mhm.
And now Rihanna is, excuse my French, damn near naked. So coming to the next question, which is skin. Why is skin becoming such a great trend lately? Is that considered an evolutionary technique as well? And I know they say sex sells, so why is it that sex sells over the whole industry of things?
Sex has always sold. Even if you go back into the 20s and the 30s, sex has sold. Um, it's something that intrigues. It intrigues the mind. Um, and it intrigues you visually. So sex sells. It is what it is. It's not really much that you can elaborate on. If I put somebody that's very attractive and fully clothed in front of you, and I put somebody that's very attractive and they're just sitting there in their underwear, you're probably going to pay attention to the person that's just in their underwear because it's just visually attractive. So if something is visually attractive, you're going to look at it first before you actually pay attention to what that person that's fully clothed is saying. You'll pay attention to the person that's just standing in their underwear. They just visually attract you.
So it's there a reason to explain why so many artists, for example, have transformed their outer appearance drastically to fit the need of what music is requiring. Because it seems like skin is becoming a requirement now, and there's a few that I can name out top. Jennifer Hudson, she went from being a healthy sized girl to a very petite girl now. Jill Scott, she's lost a lot of weight recently. Marsha Ambrosius, she lost a lot. Raven Simone, she lost a lot. Monique, she's lost a lot too. So considered an evolutionary step to go from this to this on a drastic scale to make you a better artist, or is it just to sell you as an artist?
Well, I think it's some of those things pertain to the industry, and some of those things pertain to the person. When it comes to artists, like all the artists that you name, all of them have lost a lot of weight, but they still don't sell on a skin level. Like if you look at the type of clothes they wear the same type of clothes they wore when they were healthier, versus them being a smaller size now. So it's not necessarily um, something that is a requirement because like Jill Scott's latest album, it came out and she went number 1, and she's not giving out sex. You know, well, she gives out sex in her words, but not on
It's
a physical level.
Define sex.
Yeah,
um,
it's not a requirement uh, in most cases. In some, it's just the artist coming into who they are. Sometimes when the artist first comes out, they can't be who they are because the company that I want to say owns, but in a sense kind of owns them, says that's not going to work for you. We know what's going to work for you. So sometimes the artist comes into their own, and when they're able to have control over what they're doing, and if that's what they want to do, that's what they like to do. I think Rihanna came into her own, and she's doing what she likes to do. I think Jill Scott, she's been doing what she likes to do from the beginning, and she's still doing it, and she's just the type of artist that evolves a different type of way. Jennifer Hudson came into her own because she wasn't allowed to do what she wanted to do in the beginning either. That's just, it can be an evolution thing, it can be a requirement, or it can be just what the artist likes.
Okay. Next question. What artist do you feel has evolved to a higher level than expected? Because, everything is constantly changing and evolving. So, what are some artists that you think have hit a very high level? I could name one or two, but it'd probably be an argument. But I'm going to anyway. Um, I'm just throw this out there for example. Beyonce, from when she was with Destiny's Child to where she stands now.
Honestly, I knew Beyonce was going to be a standout when she was in Destiny's Child because if you look back at the videos and the way that their performances in Destiny's Child back from 1999 or 1998 till now, she was always a standout then. So when she took off into her own, of course, she was always the one that they put out in front, the one that you always have to look at, the one that you always have to listen to. So I feel like when she got out there by herself, of course, everybody's gonna follow her because they're used to seeing her. They wanted to see her step out by herself without the quote unquote background singers.
Beyonce featuring Destiny's Child.
Right, and I mean that's the same thing, and that's not just that group. It's happened in and when it comes to groups, that's happened in groups. Period. You can look at the Temptations. It happened with the Temptations. You can look at the Starlights. It happened with them. The Shy-Lights, the Supremes. This is going back to the 60s, 50s. It happens with every group. Somebody is a standout, and the company is going to say, hey, we can make more of a profit if we just put that one person out versus having a group and have to pay all 3 of them and having to pay for all of that. Let's pay for that one person and make all the money off of them because they're a star. So it's just
So could you say that's an evolutionary technique?
that's a business technique. That is a business technique, I think. If you look in when you're working, people see somebody that's a star, they're going to put that person out there. They're going to put that person in a position where they can benefit. So that's just a business move, I
Okay.
think.
Any other artists that may come to mind that? Well, what about Chris Brown? Let's. Cause we've been talking about the female, artists since we first started. Let's talk about some of the male ones. So, like, what about someone like Chris Brown when he first came out with what was the name of his first album? I can't think of the name of it to where he stands now with, um, what's the name of the recent album? Oh, Fame. He's
Hmm.
changed a lot since he first came out. But do you feel like
Well,
he's staying true to himself too?
um, Chris came out at a young age, so of course he was under the control of the company, point blank, until he was at least 18. He wasn't going to be able to say all the things he wanted to say. He wasn't going to do the moves that he wanted to do, and they're going to give him certain things that hey, because you're young, you're going to do this. This fits your age level. When you get older, we'll give you more freedom. Um, Chris Brown has stayed true ever since he has had his ability, his voice. Ever since he's had his voice, I think he's been very true to himself. Um, his case, he had controversy to boost his career, really, because I mean, well, not necessarily, because he was always selling, period. But once he had that controversy with Rihanna, it was like he really took off when he did his mixtapes and so forth. So he's a male artist that I can say he stayed true to the time that he had a voice. To now, he's been Chris Brown. Music Soul Child has been a male artist that has stayed true to himself from the beginning. John Legend has stayed true to himself from the beginning. As far as male artists goes, it's not that many male vocal artists anyway. R&B, soul, neo soul, those type of artists. They have. It's not that many of them that have made it big to really say that much of them can have a trend that they need to change upon. I mean, you have Neo, but he's always been a writer. So when it came to his vocal performance, um, he hasn't been in the game long enough to really just say. Right, his writing ability is great though. He's written for a lot of artists. So there's a lot of other male artists I could speak on, but a lot of people wouldn't know who they are. Or if I,
Hmm.
I mean, I have Dwelly, uh, Raheem Devon. He's been very true to himself, but he hasn't yet to really get the recognition that he needs. Um, right, Raphael Sadiq. He's been very true to himself. He's written for a lot of artists. He was in Tony. He was in Lucy Pearl. It's a lot of things that it's a lot of male artists that just don't get the recognition they need. I don't know if that's a question, but
I
that goes
mean,
into
that's
that.
understandable. So is it maybe because being that sex sell, they're maybe not selling enough sex?
Well, that's one thing about male artists. They sell sex a lot more than females do, but it's
What's an
more
example?
acceptable. Trey Songz.
I figured you was gonna say
Trey
that.
Songz has not been true to himself. When he first came out, he was not sex sales. His first album, Just Gotta Make It, was about the struggle. It was about a lot of real issues. When his first two CDs did not do very well, but he had one song on his second CD that was about sex, and that kind of
Boosted.
boosted his career.
What song was that?
Um, Last Time, I believe.
Okay.
That song kind of boosted his career. The video was very sexual, and that's when everybody paid attention to Trey Songz. And his last two or three albums, or however many he's had, have been straight sex sales. It's been about sex. What I do in the bedroom, what I do, sex. It's been very sex sales, and that works for him because now he has a career. Well, I'm not gonna say he has a career. He has a successful career.
Okay. So we can talk about artists and all that for a while. We'll leave that for the next interview. Um, what do you feel an artist truly needs to be able to evolve to the next level in music? Like I know some say you need longevity. Like for example, Madonna. Madonna's been in the game from the beginning of time to now. And she has that longevity. She has that status of legend. Of legacy now. So like, what does an artist truly need to evolve to the next level to where they can reach that level as being legacy?
Well, in order to get longevity, you have to establish yourself to a point. Um, to say that I have something to say and I'm worth listening to. Madonna has been very controversial, so that's why she's lasted so long. She goes against the trend. She goes against what the company always wants her to do. She goes against what the fans want her to do sometimes. So I think that's what lasted her so long. And also with other artists that have lasted a long time would be like Whitney Houston. She's been controversial since the beginning, and she was under studio control for a while, but because of her voice, that carried her. But controversy carried her as well. Another artist that's been in the game a while, male artist Luther Vandross before he passed, God rest his soul. He stayed in the game a very long time because he released albums up until maybe a year before he passed. It's longevity comes from your content. Are you worth listening to, and how you present it.
So,
I and once you get that established, then you have longevity, which defines how long you're in the game and so forth.
so then, who of our generation would you feel like, if not quite reached that status, would be somebody that in the long run would be able to say they are a legend in their own right?
It's hard to really pick out a legend from our generation because um, our generation introduces so many people. We don't have,
Stable grounds.
yeah, because I mean, and they come from different things, different backgrounds. I would say, as much as I'm not a big Beyonce fan, but she has that she has that
Potential.
presence. Yeah, and she's able to grab even other artists, even other artists from like she has Anita Baker that backs her. She has Whitney Houston likes Beyonce. So when you have other artists that look at you and like you have that status, you have that something special. I think that in our generation, that can establish them as almost a legend when they have somebody that is a legend backing them.
Okay. Um. Let's let's get a little controversy for a second because I know how you feel about this artist, Janet Jackson, and she has been one of the most controversial artists. She's been at the top and below and all of that. So, what gives her standing as she is? Because Janet is one of the baddest in the game. Janet can still outsell shows without effort. So, because I know from talking to RJ, who owns a music blogging site, he told me that they're pushing towards artists who can do concerts, who can rack in money, so
Hmm.
that's where most of them make their money. And Janet is a prime example. She can give you a concert and give you your money's worth. So, what makes Janet such a profound artist on that level to where they're tailoring the next set of generation of artists after her? Put it like that.
Well, people like to be entertained. Uh, and Janet is an all-around entertainer. I could talk about Janet for days. I'm not going to do that. But Janet is an all-around entertainer. She sings, she dances, she acts, and she's very sexually appealing. Very sexually appealing. On top of all of that, another artist that I can put into that, I think a reason that a lot of the industry is trying to center artists around that type of artist, a Janet type of artist, is because they can take that artist, put them into a arena, sell out that concert, and make even more money off of that artist because that artist has a all around entertainment. They're not just a singer, they're not just a dancer, but they can do all those things at one time. Um, the reason I think Janet has lasted so long, one would say it's because of her name, but it's not because of her name. Because if you look at the Jackson Five, who emerged from the Jackson Five and lasted? Michael Jackson, Tito, and all the rest of them. They tried, and they just didn't have that. They didn't have that presence. They didn't have that type of entertainment background to where they could entertain. Latoya has tried many times. Latoya is still trying. I'm not gonna talk about it. Latoya is still trying, but they just don't have that je ne sais quoi to say. They don't have that ability to entertain a crowd and hold that crowd. Um, One artist I would say that doesn't get the recognition they need, that not to say that they need, but doesn't get the recognition that they can receive would be Sierra. She is like Janet to me. She has a little bit of a singing voice. She can dance, and she can entertain. When you're at her concert, she really does entertain you. She doesn't just. People don't want an artist that's just gonna stand there all the time. At least our generation doesn't. Um, they don't want an artist that's just gonna stand on stage and sing to you. They
So,
want you to visually entice me to.
so, can you explain how someone, for example, Britney Spears, she was at the very top, of the game as one of the, I guess, greatest performers of her time. So, well, now she's just kind of up there on stage, but she's
Mhm.
still selling out shows beyond belief. Like she's basically just showing up there because she's not really just singing anymore. She's just like she doesn't care, but she's still outselling most people on tour. So how can you separate those who try to give you a great show compared to those who just gives you a show?
Well, that comes from the fans. When a you get certain fans that are so attached to you that nothing you do is wrong, and they're going to follow you until your deathbed. Michael Jackson fans are like that. I love Michael to death, but Michael Jackson fans are like that. They will follow you to your death. Britney established herself at a young age, and she was actually doing shows. She was actually being an entertainer, and she gained those fans that are going to stick to her through the end, stick with her through the end. So versus you got Britney versus an artist like um let's say Lettucey. I know this is like a very drastic difference, but Lettucey is an entertainer. She doesn't dance like Britney does or dance like Janet does, but she does, get on stage and give you like something to visually look at. But she doesn't get the recognition she deserves at all versus Britney, who's just gonna stand up there. She doesn't even dance anymore, really. Or if she does dance, she's not gonna sing. She's gonna lip sync. Um, Lettucey never got that she hasn't had that chance yet to get that grounding. She hasn't had that chance to get the fan base that Britney has. Britney had that chance at a young age. She had a lot of different things that helped her get that fan base, whereas some artists don't have that help to get that fan base. So I think that's one thing that really, when your fans are there, you're gonna sell out.
Okay. Trying to think. Because we covered a lot of stuff. Um, One of the most controversial things that's happened recently, excuse me, was Beyonce winning the Millennium Award as being, I guess, what is it, one of the greatest artists of our time.
Mm.
Now, a lot of folks feel like she doesn't deserve that award. What's your stand? Taking aside your personal feelings towards Beyonce as an artist, honest and truthfully, how do you feel about that?
Wait, let me clear it up. Beyonce as an artist is fine. Beyonce as a person, I'm too much scared for.
Touch mercy.
But I can't say whether she deserves the award or not because that wasn't really up to the people's decision. That was up to a board of officials that went over different things and different votes that decided, hey, we're going to give this award to Beyonce. I don't think that she's been in the game long enough to really say that she could be artist of the millennium because if you want to give it to somebody that's the artist of the millennium and you want them to be alive, who's who really deserves that? There hasn't been one artist that has really established themselves to a point where they deserve to be the artist of the millennium. You know what I'm saying? Because not one artist out there that everybody likes. I think the artist of the millennium will be somebody that everybody can come to a agreement on. Yes, what they say and what they do touches everybody.
Okay.
So I don't know if there really is an artist of the millennium. But that board of officials feels like Beyonce is the artist because she's making moves and she's selling out and she's changing lives, I guess, to an extent.
But I give it to her though. I have not yet been to one of her concerts, but I've seen her concerts, and they're about 2 hours long, if I'm not mistaken. But it's entertainment from beginning to the end. It's very powerful shows. So I guess you think maybe looking at the criteria of things like that maybe help to establish that, because not many artists out there right now are actually giving you your money's worth.
Hmm.
Britney Spears is a prime example. Tickets going for 150, 200 something dollars, and she's not even really singing most of the show. At least 75% of it, she's just on stage. So could that be probably why she may have gotten it? I know she hasn't been in the game long enough, but to be
You could
able,
say that. I mean, that could be part of the criteria. I don't know what the criteria is that the board goes when they sitting in their room around their little square or round table. I don't know what their criteria is, but that could be part of the criteria of does this artist give the money's worth? Does this artist really entertain the whole time? Maybe that's criteria. But you could say that about a few other artists. Yeah, they might take breaks in between, but those breaks might be for stage change or something like that. I forgot the original question. Just that quick.
that's fine. We can move on with that. Another thing. It's kind of been bothering. Well, not bothering, but it's been rattling my brain. And I'm wondering, is it an evolutionary technique or is it something else? When an artist becomes a brand,
Hmm.
where you distinguish them from any other artist because of their name, is that a quote unquote evolutionary technique, or is it just because of their longevity and their stand? For example, when you say Beyonce, you know exactly who Beyonce is. When you say Janet, you know exactly who Janet is. When you say, I don't know why I'm going to say this, Mariah Carey, you know Miss Mariah. So, would you say it's a quote unquote evolutionary technique to get to a point where your name just brings money regardless of who you are?
That's when you establish yourself um, as an artist. I don't think it's an evolution technique. It's a business. It's a business move too. Um, because you can, if anytime you use that name, that person in the company that that person works for or works under is gonna get paid. So it's definitely a business move. If you put Janet's name on something, Janet's gonna get paid, and whatever record label she's under is gonna get paid. If you put Beyonce's name on something, Beyonce is gonna get paid, and the company is gonna get paid. Their name has now become a brand, so it's a business move. It's not necessarily evolution. Some things that seem like they're evolutionary have really been a business move, a business deal. Um, you have to look into things a little deeper sometimes. Of hey, this isn't evolution. They've been doing this in this type of work for the longest. They're just bringing it to the music industry now.
So, question. Excuse me. Phone ring. I forgot my question. Um, okay. So, like, for example, my question. I had a question. I swear it just left my mind. We keep rolling though. We keep rolling it. Someone like Leona Lewis. They said that she was supposed to be the next Mariah Carey when she first came out.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that statement? Because I know it's been a lot of controversial beefs and stuff that goes on at times because of statements like that being made. Because when you reach that longevity like Mariah Carey has, and they're comparing someone else to you as if they're trying to take your spot. How do you think that is a very powerful statement? Like, what makes that such a statement? I kind of lost my question, but I think you kind of understand.
I think I understand what you're saying. I believe it becomes a controversy when that artist has not publicly stated that they're retiring or that they're stepping out the game. So if somebody like Leona Lewis comes along, Mariah hasn't publicly said, "Oh, I'm retiring. I'm no longer making any albums," or she's been let go from her business, her label. She's been let go from her label. If that has not been stated and somebody says a statement like that, it's like we're brushing you aside. You don't matter anymore. So that controversy does come in there, um, especially when a person has pretty much the same qualities as that other artist. Leona Lewis doesn't really dance. She doesn't really do anything. She has a voice. Mariah Carey doesn't really dance or do anything, visually, besides her sexual appeal that she grew into. Um, she has a voice. Had a voice.
Well, they say she's coming out with a new project. They say she's supposed to be taking it back to the old Mariah when she actually, because talking to RJ, Truth Left, was it truthleftmusic.com?
hmm
He was saying that the reason that she was lowering, I guess becoming lower, was because she wasn't fully singing like she used to. She would whisper, whisper throughout most of the songs. Then she would bellow out. And he was saying that fans have started to not care for that anymore. Don't quote me wrong. Don't quote me wrong, but but they said that she's taking it back to the old Mariah Carey when she used to sing like during Hero days.
When she actually was getting voice training.
Do you feel like she's become quite settled with where she's at?
I believe that Mariah was one of the few artists that fell into trends. She fell into well, this is working for everybody else, so let me try it too. And I think that for her, that was just one of those things that happened for her. She had that mental breakdown and so forth. And sometimes you go through different things. Mariah just went through that stage, um, and she was a smoker. So that doesn't. Whitney is a smoker, so clearly, if you look at the smokers, look at their voice. It does. It does affect your voice. But Mariah wasn't getting the vocal training that she used to get. Her mother was her vocal trainer for a while. If I'm not, don't quote me on that, but I believe her mother was her vocal trainer for a very long period in time. And when her mother was no longer her vocal trainer, or she decided to go a different route, you can see the change in that. Because her mother is an opera singer, was an opera singer. I'm not sure she still is. So that you can see that change in her. What was the question?
I kind of forgot, but you really did do a lot. I like that statement. Question. Speaking of Rihanna, because I hear her playing in the background, um, I was told that Rihanna is one of those artists that a lot of companies want because she has that ability to switch between the different genres. But to me, she's lacking stage wise. So why is Rihanna on top of the game as she is? When Loud came out, it was number one for a good while, and she's about to re-release Loud with I think like 4 or 10 new tracks on it. So why does she have standing power, but she lacks what sells the most? If you ask me, because I've seen a lot of her live performances,
and she like,
I would be highly pissed. I would rush the stage, ready to fight. I paid $20 to hear her crack and crumble. So why is it artists like her has begun to become a brand compared to those like Ledisi? I've heard her and she's worth her weight in gold, on stage. So why is it someone like Rihanna is getting more attention than her?
I think that goes back to the fan base. She established her fan base with Good Girl Gone Bad. Well, I'd say she established it with Music of the Sun, but it didn't hit as big. Her first 2 albums didn't really, they were nowhere near Good Girl Gone Bad. But when she established her fan
Music
base,
of the Sun was the first. What was the second one?
um,
I thought Good Girl Gone Bad was the second one.
Good Girl Gone Bad was the third one.
She's had 5 CDs out?
Yes. She's had 5 CDs out.
See, that lets you know about an artist's, growth because most folks only know about Music of the Sun, Good Girl Gone Bad,
Rated R.
Rated R, and Loud.
There was
So
one
those
in
are the
between.
only 4 that most people know about because I never knew about a album after,
Yeah. She had one more album after that. I don't remember the name of it right now.
so
We're gonna look that up just really quick.
right.
Music of the Sun was the first one or the second one? I really don't think Music of the Sun was the first one. Okay.
A girl like me.
A Girl Like Me. Okay, yes.
See, I learn something new every day. As long as she's been in the game, I did not know that she had 5 albums out.
Yeah, A Girl Like Me is with SOS was on.
Really?
Yeah,
And that's one of my favorite songs.
Those albums were released back to back, just like Rated R and Loud were released back to back. It was Music of the Sun was like '05, and then A Girl Like Me was '06. So, and I think it was because it didn't do so well. They said, "Well, hey, let's get something else out there."
Okay.
They were trying to push her as an artist. But yeah, the question was why stage presence? Okay. Rihanna has stage presence visually when you look at her, but she doesn't give you that stage presence of she doesn't have the voice. She doesn't really entertain you when she's dancing wise. So she has a different type of visual stage presence. You might look at her and like, what are you can't sing, or I'm not gonna say she can't sing. You don't have the greatest singing voice. And you don't really dance a lot, but you're visually pleasing to you because of how you look. But when she established that fan base early on, she has those types of fans that are gonna stick with her. Some fans are fickle, but you have some fans that are gonna stick with you no matter what you do. So and she established that fan base. Like I said with Legacy, she hasn't had the chance to establish that fan base. I don't think.
It's coming though. It's coming.
Yeah.
But I personally feel like, and this is my own opinion, that someone who reaches legacy status or legendary by time, and I'm probably gonna catch a lot of backdraft from this too, is Beyonce of the female era, because like I said, no one gives you that much of a concert experience. Just like, for example, what was the tour? The Beyonce Experience, I believe that was called.
I am. I don't
No,
know.
not that one. The one before that one.
Oh, I
Before
really
she
don't
came
know.
up. Okay. It was during. It was between the first and the B-Day
the
album.
B-Day. Okay.
So,
I got you.
and I used to have that DVD, and to sit there and watch it from beginning to end, it was nonstop entertainment. Even when she wasn't on stage, it was still just high energy. And then I remember seeing the footage on YouTube of her falling down a flight of stairs and still got up and gave you a show. Not most artists can make a fall like that and get back up and still keep rolling with the punches. And I just feel like, it's not many artists. And they should take artists like that and break it down to a science for the next set of artists. Because everything is going digital age now.
Mm-hmm.
Sales, and now it's, CDs have become obsolete. Tapes have way gone obsolete. Everything is going digital age now. So I just personally feel like Beyonce is one of those type of artists. It's just that, what do you think they should do to get those other artists to her level? Because really, is no one in our generation who can top her. Gaga can try. Well, Gaga, that's different. Oh, she raised a finger.
Actually, Beyonce's trying to be like Gaga now. But we're not going to really get into that. I'll come back to that.
We'll have that'll be another interview.
But in order to get an artist to a certain level, you need to have a team that's working for you. Beyonce had a team. She had her father, and her father had the right type of people to market her a certain way. That's why, like I said in the beginning, you could see that she was always in front. He always had high hopes for her. I'm gonna put her out there. She's gonna be a star. Whether she was the best singer in that group or not, we probably won't know right now because Beyonce had vocal training. She had more vocal training than some of the other artists in the group did. So I'm gonna make her the star. For whatever reason, he chose Beyonce to be the star instead of Solange. He stole because Solange can sing too. He chose Beyonce. But when a artist has a board or a background or a team that is there and they're there for that artist, they're working for that artist is going to excel. Lady Gaga has a team working for her. Mariah Carey had a team working for her. I'm pretty sure she has a team now, but they're not working as hard. Her team might have changed. It's changed, I believe. But each artist has a team that is backing them to a sense to where they're gonna get pushed up there. Chris Brown has a team backing him. When you have a solid team, a solid background, a solid working space, you're gonna get excelled to where you want to be and to where that team sees you being. So I think that when you have a team like Beyonce's team that says that's working with you and it's always nonstop, if you practice like they say, perfect practice makes perfect. If you practice perfectly or as perfect as possible, when you get out there and perform, it's gonna be as perfect as possible. Even when something goes wrong, you're gonna keep it going no matter what. So that I mean, I don't deny Beyonce as an artist. I'm just not a big fan because of how she got put out there and so forth. I'm not gonna say that she doesn't have good music. Every now and then she has a song that even I jam to.
Because I mean, then it was stuff like how she used to, run miles in heels just to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She had a team. Her father had that team put together to push them. And even with the Jacksons, you can go back to that. Everybody's seen the American Dream and how Joe Jackson was on the Jacksons. He pushed them, and that's why they made it as far as they did. Not in the interview.
They have donuts, and I'm sorry, I done broke the interview. Well, I believe that's pretty much all. We've covered everything. Look, almost an hour. You want to just go for 9 more minutes just to make it a whole hour?
If you want to go for 9 more minutes, we can educate the masses.
Let's do that. So okay, okay. I want to know your personal opinion. You can come into the camera if you want to, and I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me, who do you feel? Really, this is gonna be on the internet for everybody to see.
They just think
Anyway, I want y'all to let me know, who do y'all feel are some artists that has evolved to a whole new level from when they first came out to where they at now. Other than Beyonce.
Other than Beyonce.
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
I'd say R. Kelly
R.
has
Kelly
tried.
has done gospel. He has done.
He does
music.
gospel when he's in trouble.
Still, the point is he evolves, and each time something new comes out, he does that. Like
You want to come
one
into the
while
camera?
the bright colors was out. Remember, he started wearing the bright colors, and then one while the little gangster stuff was out. He started doing that, and then all the little sexy stuff got out.
The camera's right here.
They can hear me.
Okay.
Well, y'all get the point.
Anybody else?
I would like to back that up. R. Kelly is one male artist that has longevity. He's been out since '94.
94.
Yeah, '94.
I was born in '88.
Can we say Lil Kim?
Who?
Yeah, we haven't really touched upon the rap artists and so forth. If y'all want to interject,
But
the rap genre didn't come along until late '80s, and it has evolved. Rap has evolved. Period.
it's all,
So-
plus it's to me, rap doesn't have staying power like it used to because of the fact of the matter. Like most rap is like bashing this person, bashing that person, talking about how much money, cars, and stuff you got compared to just the rappers that rapped about real stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the thing. Rap has evolved from hip hop. It started off as hip hop.
Don't know.
It started off as hip hop, and hip hop had a genre to break off from it called rap.
Okay.
So that's why they say hip hop is dead, because rap has taken over. But hip hop is not dead. Hip hop is just dormant.
Nas was the one who said that statement. That
Yes,
hip hop
he
is
is.
dead.
And he's a rap artist to me. He's not really a hip hop artist. Hip hop to me is somebody like Common, somebody like Lauryn Hill, somebody like actually Jill Scott could fall under hip hop every now and then. Hip hop is somebody that has a message and it's in spoken word.
Christina Michelle.
Who?
No, she's neo soul.
No, I'm not Jim. I'm talking about Christina Michelle is one of the upcoming artists.
Oh, Chrisette Michelle is an upcoming artist. Yes. Okay, that was the original question.
Okay. Congratulations, you did it. But see, we talked about that. Me and RJ, we talked about that. I can't wait till I can get to share his interview. And like the thing about that was, Chrisette Michelle doesn't get the recognition that she needs because she's, she's a big girl.
Well, you could say that, but
Even
I
if
think
she's-
it's because she doesn't fit. She doesn't fall into the trends either. She doesn't do. Hey, I'm gonna show more skin. Even as a big girls show more skin too.
Yeah, John Legend
John Legend.
came a long way too. Because ordinary people was
Yeah.
He talk about real stuff in the song.
There's another artist. People know Janelle Monáe, but I don't think they know where Janelle Monáe came from. People look at Janelle Monáe as if she's really not in a genre right now. She has her own genre. It's like Janelle Monáeism.
Heather Headley,
Who?
She hasn't gotten any recognition that she needs either.
but she has some very.
Heather Headley.
But it's just
You
I
We talked about her.
Yeah, she
You
came
kind of
out.
touched on her.
but it's Kelly Rowland. To me, she's been in the game for a while, but
She's evolving to the sex sales, though.
Yeah.
I will
because
say
her
that.
first 2 songs from this new CD, you know, Motivation and Hands on Me, it's just
And Lay It On Me.
Lay it on me,
Yeah.
head on, like something on me, you know. But I got a question for all of y'all because we said that sex sells. Now, do you think if we took sex out of the equation, these people would be where they are today? Even like Beyonce, she does sex sales, but it's on a different level. It's like a sophisticated sex.
I wouldn't say all that.
I'm saying.
It's gonna be controversy. I may just stop this. Let me stop this one now and do a whole nother one because